Hey, Duluth and friends from afar, I'm Mayor Roger Reinert, and I want to welcome you to our first ever Mayor podcast. So we're still working on the title. Our working title is the Duluth Podcast. Might stick, might not, stay tuned. But what our goal is to do one of these about every month and cover a variety of topics that we think Duluthians as well as visitors might be interested in. So things like key city staff and key city services. Folks that live in our community that have just amazing and motivating stories that it's fun to learn more about. Some of the nonprofit and civic organizations in our community that really do amazing things that benefit all of us. And then, we'll connect with some of the really big events that we have happen throughout the course of a year. So watch for these and join us. We're going to try and keep them to about a half an hour. So they're enough that you want to engage in and listen, but not so much that you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough time to do that right now. So today what we're going to do is kick off by introducing one of the most important staff that we have here in City Hall, somebody who is new to our organization and new to the community, and that is our city administrator, Matt Staehling. So welcome, Matt. Thanks for being our first guest on, I think, the Duluth podcast. I mean, it seems like it might work. So.
It's good to be here for the first Duluth podcast.
We'll see if you survive and if the podcast survives.
Right.
So I think one of the advantages of doing something like a podcast, we are living in this social media environment where we try to tell everything in under 90 seconds because that's what the Facebook or Instagram algorithm lets us do. So here's an opportunity to, like in your case, learn a little bit more about you, what brought you to Duluth, what the role of a city administrator is, maybe how that's different from the role of mayor, all those sorts of things. So why don't we start by just talking a little bit about yourself and your background and who's Matt Staehling?
Oh, great. Well, I'm coming here from the city of St. Cloud, where I was an employee there for 29 years.
Didn't quite make 30.
It didn't quite make 30, but that's okay. That's okay. 30 sounds nice, but when an opportunity like this presents itself, have to go for it. So happy to be here. I guess my education and professional background, I graduated from Augsburg College in 1990 with a major in political science and a minor in English and religion. I then went on to Valparaiso University School of Law, where I graduated in 1993. And I knew in law school I gravitated toward, the classes I gravitated toward were really constitutional law, labor law. Okay. And so it was a goal of mine leaving law school to be a courtroom lawyer, to be a criminal prosecutor. And so those were, and it was a difficult job market back in the mid 90s, and I interviewed many places and was rejected many times. But
you seem to be okay though.
I'm okay with it now, and I'm grateful for that first opportunity I had, which was working for the city of Stillwater. The city attorney, nice attorney by the name of Dave Magnuson, down there hired me on to do his prosecution work. Okay. And so
for the city.
For the city of Stillwater, and so that's really where, I fell in love with being a courtroom lawyer, where I fell in love with criminal justice, working in the criminal justice system, working, hand in hand with police officers on, keeping our community safe. So that was a great start for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things folks might be curious about is they probably are aware there's a city attorney, but I think, if you listen to the news or watch TV, you're more familiar with a county attorney or maybe a U.S. attorney. So as a city attorney, what kind of work, and you became later a city attorney, so what kind of work does a city attorney do?
City attorney's office performs a number of functions, and not every city attorney's office is the same. It's actually in the state of Minnesota, there's only a handful of cities, maybe 12 or 18 cities that have in-house city attorneys. Mm-hmm. St. Cloud was one of them. Duluth, of course, is one of them. But the city attorney function is twofold. There's a civil municipal practice, which is wide and varied. I mean, the issues are different every single day, and the city attorney is really the general counsel for the mayor, the city council, and every single department within the city. And there may occasionally be specialty areas of the law where a city attorney's office might not practice in that area, and if they need expertise, they might reach out to the private sector for. And then the other major function of a city attorney's office is criminal prosecution work, and in most cities, that's the petty misdemeanor traffic. It's misdemeanors like disorderly conduct, assault, DUI. I think it might be Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, either in April or May. But domestic abuse cases are really part of the bread and butter of a city attorney's prosecution office. And so that was my first job in Stillwater, prosecuting those misdemeanor crimes. I think
going to court, doing the thing we see on TV, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's more mundane most days than what you see on TV, but it certainly is a great way. I mean, as a young lawyer, it was great, to be in the courtroom, to get that experience, and to, really learn and understand, police work. And I think that's one of the things that, I bring into this job is, I think, a very good understanding of how police departments do their job, and how important it is that they do it in the right way. And over the years, when I was in the trenches, spending a lot of time over in court, I spent a lot of time training police officers, mostly on the misdemeanor side, domestic abuse cases, and we actually used the Duluth model.
Oh, sure.
In St. Cloud, and so that was a good program. But again, a great way for a young lawyer to start a career. And after my first 2 years in Stillwater, I was hired by the city of St. Cloud.
I was going to say, I eventually made your way from Stillwater to St. Cloud.
Yep, as a misdemeanor prosecutor, assistant city attorney 1.
Okay.
Yep, and over in court every day. After about a year and a half, I was promoted to supervise the criminal division, which I did for.
I thought it was going to be city assistant 2.
It was. Yep. I was promoted to assistant city attorney 2 to supervise the criminal division, and after about 7 years of doing that, 7 years in the office, I was getting offers from the county attorney's office to come over here and prosecute felonies, and there was a part of me that wanted to prosecute felonies and to be that career prosecutor. But
might be a good opportunity to say to the county, no, we like all of our city attorneys. That's right. So just leave them here with the city.
We're keeping them.
Yeah.
So the city attorney at that time, Jan Peterson, we talked about it, and he said, stick around. I'm going to be retiring in about 10 years. I'm going to start to get you involved in the civil municipal work, which is infinitely more interesting than the criminal practice. And
so you had a leader who was looking that far ahead and saw something in what you were doing that they were like, I want to get Matt more involved. And
he definitely, again, a great leader who helped shape my career, and really, he said it's infinitely more interesting and you'll have a lot more fun, and he was right, because the civil municipal practice is so wide and varied. No 2 days are the same, and the issues are interesting, and they're new, and often undefined. There may not be a case on it, or the statute may not address the situation directly. And so the city attorney's office really operates in the gray areas of the law. And I just got comfortable with that, and I got comfortable with the pace of things. And I appreciate our city attorney's office here. The more I get to know them, and it's very familiar to me, and I know how they feel day to day. Some days it feels a little overwhelming, but you always get through it as a team. And there's a great team here. As
fabulous a city attorney that we have, and Attorney Lair, I think she appreciates having a city administrator who has the background that you're bringing to the role. So, So when did the transition then from city? You did that for a bit.
Yep. And so so in 2010, I was promoted from assistant city attorney to city attorney
Okay.
for the city of St. Cloud. And
And like here, is it a mayoral appointment? So
It is.
it would have been also Mayor Kleiss would have made that decision.
exactly, Mayor Dave Kleiss promoted me to that position, and I served in that position for 6 years, and you know, advising all departments of the city, advising the mayor, advising the city council, that general council function for the city, everything that the city does. And so and then in 2016, I think it was, the city administrator at that time, Mike Williams, took a position as county administrator in Stearns County.
Again, county. No.
Went to Stearns County. And it interested me. I thought I could do it because I understood the full breadth of what cities do. And I felt like I had, in 6 years' time as city attorney and, the 10 years prior to that, really getting immersed in, all the civil side of things. I felt like I had a good understanding of how the city ran, and felt like I had the relationships in the city where I could be an effective leader in that role. And so I went for it, and there were two other applicants for that. And one of the interesting things about the process was the mayor had us all go through a psychological
He told me about
evaluation.
that, yeah.
Right. And so it was a firm down in the Twin Cities by the name of Martin McAllister, and we had to take, aptitude tests, and
Sounded like a battery of
there was an
things.
interview. I'll let you read it sometime if you want.
I should-
So anyway, made it through that process, and served in that role with Mayor Dave Kleiss for I think 9 years.
Yeah.
So it was and Mayor Dave retired this past year. He did not run for re-election. So, and at about that same time, I heard about this opportunity
Yeah.
in Duluth.
Well, and we'd had a chance to meet, I think June-ish, we came down and visited. The mayor role is a there's not a lot of mayors, and there's not a lot, in Minnesota. There's only 4 strong mayors. 3 of those are full-time mayors, and so shortly after my election, and I'd met Dave Kleiss, the former mayor in St. Cloud, earlier. He had been a legislator and then become mayor, and so when I was at the Capitol, we'd had a chance to cross paths, and so I reached out to him early, and he was just fabulous. Was really welcoming and supportive and encouraging, and had some great advice. And so we had gone down, like I said, I think in June, to visit your team and just like try to learn from another regional center, kind of what I consider our peer in the market space. And had a fabulous visit, saw some things that were similar, saw some things that were different, and we had a brief opportunity to meet at that time, and and Mayor Kleiss had shared that if there was ever an opportunity to, and I knew at that time that we'd be looking for an administrator because Dave Montgomery had come back for kind of a 1-year only reprisal of his administrator role. So it was in my mind at that time already, and Mayor Kleiss sort of put on my radar to at least think about you as things unfolded. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've been here
3 months? Not quite.
We're going on 3 months,
Yeah.
and it's gone fast, and I've been very impressed not only with the city of Duluth, our team, but with the city of Duluth out there. And I'm not talking about just the the uniquely beautiful city this is. I'm talking about the people and the leaders in the business community that I've had an opportunity to meet, and it's just been an incredibly warm welcome that it has exceeded my expectations.
Let's go back just a bit. Like, what was appealing about, or what appealed to you about potentially making a change? Obviously, huge. I mean, you were at the organization for almost 30 years. I mean, that's not an easy life change to a different location. You have family. Like, just kind of share with us what you're comfortable about. What you're
Sure.
thinking of.
Well, I was thinking that, I'm going to be 57 soon, and that if I'm ever going to make a big jump in my career, now's the time. I feel like I'm at the top of my game. I've got good experience. I'm confident in my abilities. I'm comfortable with what I, was able to achieve with my team in St. Cloud, and Duluth. There's a lot to love about Duluth. Part of it was certainly a new challenge. Um, you know, I still have some things to prove to myself, and so I wanted that personal challenge, to take on more. And so that was part of it. And, having met you and many conversations with Dave Montgomery, over the preceding months, I just felt like this would be a fun place to, give it a shot. And so it was, I decided to go for it. And it was a big decision.
Sure, I am right, naturally so.
Yeah.
Well, we're grateful for all those reasons. Your extensive experience, and I have to say, share with folks listening or watching what I've shared with you when I went through references, and the ones you gave me as well as others. I think the cold references are always interesting. Just teamwork came up in every single one. Your ability to have built and led a team was something that everybody highlighted. Just high remarks on just you as a person. Everybody just loved Matt, great. Your team was sad to see you go. I like that they gave you a t-shirt that said quitter. I thought that was hilarious. So a sense of humor, and I think that's one thing I've noticed with you in the role already is not much bothers you. You have a really positive attitude, and it's, whatever it is, it's well, okay. Which is definitely a growth area for me. So what is as you've been in the role now again for not quite 3 months, and as you reflect on the two communities, what do you see as some of the most notable differences? And open it up to both the communities generally, but also I always say there's Duluth, and then there's capital C, City of Duluth, meaning, our municipal organization of almost 900 employees.
In terms of the city municipal functions, there's a lot of similarities in our structure, but there are some significant differences also. One of the differences is City of Duluth. You have a lift bridge, you have an active harbor. That's not all city responsibility, but without the city operating that lift bridge,
I'm pretty sure everything that happens in Duluth is city responsibility.
That's how it ends up. Very, very true. You have comfort systems. You have Duluth Power with the steam and hot water. Those are utilities that most cities don't have.
Sure.
Even most regional cities don't have. And so that's different and new. And and there's the partnerships with Spirit Mountain, and just unique things like that that make, I think, this job even that much more interesting, aside from kind of the day to day. But otherwise, a lot of the same themes are there. Economic growth and economic development is a challenge here, just as it is in St. Cloud and probably every other regional city. I think.
Are the streets in St. Cloud paved in gold? That's what I've heard.
They're not paved in gold. But in St. Cloud, we're doing here, concerted effort over the last 5 years to do a lot of street work. That's a priority. We did a city survey every 2 or 3 years down there, and streets and public safety were always the top two. Sure. The last time we did a survey down there downtown was a top priority for the city.
It's all similar, very similar.
Yeah, and so and I know downtown Duluth is a big priority for your administration. It's a priority for our city council and
the community,
and for our business community. I've heard that loud and clear. Lots of conversations about about downtown, and so there's lots of opportunities there. There's challenges there.
For sure. Anything that struck you as, oh, that's really different in terms of either and you talked a little bit about the organization, but how about your sense so far in just the communities generally? In both regional centers?
Yes, yeah.
I think St. Cloud sits in 3 counties, which, I thought was both interesting, but also, as I did my homework, saw St. Cloud be a little bit more regional because of that, or maybe in part because of that, and something that I'm very interested in seeing us do more of. But what has struck you in terms of the fabric of the 2 communities?
I've been very impressed with the city of Duluth. Not municipal operations,
Yeah.
but the people here in the business community. Very impressed with the sense of positivity about Duluth moving forward. A couple of events that I was at a chamber event that you spoke at. I've attended the downtown Duluth,
Yep.
and I was just struck by just the positive dialogue. And the level of participation I was impressed with.
I remember you saying that after the downtown Duluth dinner with about 600 people, how impressed you were with how many people were attending that.
Yeah, I was expecting something maybe a third that size. And so, because St. Cloud and Duluth, about the same population. And so to have that robust of a turnout for, on a weeknight, an event, where, you're celebrating achievements, but also focusing in on what is yet to be achieved.
Right.
I was very impressed with that, and just that sense of positivity and we can do this. I think that's a strength that Duluth has from my, outside eyes coming in.
For sure, and I think one of the things that is an advantage for Duluth and it can be a challenge as well, but our big small town, like there is definitely a connectivity within the community, and I like to say, there's not 1 degree of separation, it's like a quarter degree. And that's often an asset. It can be a challenge at times as well. As you've gotten to spend some time in the community, out away from work, what have you found interesting? Have you discovered anything you didn't already know? You had visited before, I'm sure.
I visited before for sure, but the same areas that every other tourist hits.
Okay.
And so it's been really fun to learn more about Duluth, and my wife and I have spent a couple of weekends just driving around and exploring, and just how big Duluth is geographically, how far you can drive and still be in the city limits.
26 miles.
And I thought a few weeks ago when I drove, I thought I was at the end, but I didn't get all the way to Fond du Lac. So I made it to the
Sorry,
other.
Fond du Lac. He will make up for that.
I'll make up for it this weekend. And then, the robust park system is something I can't wait to take advantage of to get out there on my mountain bike.
I was going to say, rumor is you're a big mountain biker.
I used to be a big runner, and now I'm a big mountain biker.
Okay.
Right? I made the switch probably about 20 years ago when I started to, do I want to run another marathon or do I want to have fun?
I'm not woken up to that reality yet. So I still run. I own a bike, but I don't ride it as much as running.
Yeah, I own more bikes than I should.
I think that's true of every serious biker. So.
Right.
So waiting for the trails to firm up and be able to get out. And
exactly. Once they dry out, I'll bring a couple of my bikes up, and that'll be how I'll enjoy exploring the rest of the city.
Okay.
But really, it's a great community in so many ways. So I'm very happy to be here and happy that I,
What's
took on this challenge.
the most interesting corner or built? What's the most interesting part of Duluth that you've stumbled across? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this exists.
It's hard to pick one, honestly. When I drive through the East Hillside, I marvel at the differences in the architecture and some of those mansions and larger homes are just absolutely gorgeous.
Sure.
When I drive through other parts of the city, I see the, industrial town that Duluth was, and that has a charm that I appreciate
Sure.
as well.
Yeah, our western neighborhoods.
Yeah, and just how, how much of the city is built into the side of the hill.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is just
My house.
I mean, it's. I wouldn't say I've been initiated into winter driving here. It's more like a hazing. It's just my first couple of times down the hill were interesting for me. So I'm learning.
Yeah.
Take different routes.
From just some of our office conversations, I think you've found the challenge many have in Duluth and trying to find housing. I was sharing with somebody the other day that if you went 10, maybe even just 5 years ago, the conversation would be about jobs. And really now it's about housing. The jobs are there, and our single biggest limiting factor in terms of growing and meeting that 90,000 by 2030 goal is housing. And you've kind of run into that as well, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the market, working.
So if anyone knows.
Yeah, working with a local realtor, and yeah, I mean, I was going to look at a house this past Tuesday.
Yep.
And having made the appointment Sunday afternoon, locked in a time, and in those 2 days, it was gone. So
yeah, well,
no,
that is unfortunately not uncommon. So I think I wouldn't want to say a great thing, but certainly helpful for you to have that experience as we work on that as a top city priority.
Yeah,
it's a lived reality for many folks.
I can see that as some of your largest employers. I mean, we have a beautiful regional medical center here, and 2 hospitals actually, which is amazing.
Right.
Amazing assets for the community. And they're growing, and they're serving a larger regional area, and they're needing to hire medical professionals at all levels. And
the Cirruses of the world will be at the Sofidel paper plant expansion in the near future, and they're almost tripling their workforce. And all of those folks need housing.
Yeah. So as these businesses grow and expand and succeed, that's going to be a huge issue.
So as you've dug into the work, and I know we're going to sit down in a few weeks and kind of at your 100-day mark, get your reflections, coming in with experience and knowledge, but a fresh set of eyes. I mean, what has kind of come to mind, top of mind, as opportunities for us as an organization?
Downtown is really, I think there's a lot of opportunity downtown. When I drive on First, I mean, I just walked down to the Coney Island Deluxe for lunch today, and in walking between City Hall and Coney Island, there were several open storefronts and vacant buildings, and some probably we could classify as blight, but it'd be nice to get that cleaned up and really see. Downtown is very walkable, and so having more people living downtown is going to be huge. I know that's a priority of yours, and that, I believe, will be the beginning of the transformation of downtown Duluth.
I mean, it meets a need we have for young professionals that don't have kids, empty nesters that don't want to do snow and yards and all that sort of thing. And I think that First Street corridor, such a great example of walking that, and the Reguses will love that you went to Coney Island. It really has the potential to be kind of our Nicollet Mall, of a place that really is about people walking between places and dominated by people on their feet at street level instead of cars. And I think that will be, as we think of downtown as a residential, a big challenge will be to think about downtown orientated towards people walking around instead of cars moving around. So that'll take a little bit of a mind shift for some residents, and some streetscape redesign on our part as well. one of the things that I wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about is what the heck is the difference between a mayor and a city administrator? Because I'm pretty sure most people watching think that mayor is the one who runs everything at City Hall. So what are your thoughts on what are the distinctions between those two roles? Because they can both be seen as the kind of the chief executive of the organization.
Sure, and depending on what we're talking about, both can be true. But the mayor really is the face of the city, which is why everyone looks to the mayor for everything. And they believe that every decision made is a mayor's decision.
Yep.
But there really is.
And I have a whole box of mayor's wands right here.
Yes.
So.
And so, yeah, the mayor's the face of the city. The mayor sets the policy tone for the city, but also, I mean, the mayor is also involved in, some of the bigger decisions that are made, even if they do involve operations, because some things can impact the community more, and the more impact on the community a decision has, even if it relates to operations, really the mayor has visibility on a lot of that. But my job as city administrator is really primarily focused on city operations, although we certainly do talk about policy and we work on some of those things together. But really my focus is on the day-to-day, making sure that all the services that we deliver are delivered in a great way, with hopefully great customer service, and making sure it's efficient and in a cost-effective way.
Right. I think one of the things that folks listening or watching might be surprised, and I try to say this every time I can, just so folks get a sense of the scale of this capital C City of Duluth organization. I mean, we have almost 900 employees. We have a $112 million general fund. You mentioned the utilities, which are unique to Duluth. Add those in, it's almost a $500 million operation, and virtually all of that comes to the city administrator. I mean, there's a handful of employees that, including you and our city attorney, that report to me, but really it's that day-to-day leading that entire massive organization.
Yeah, the directors that run each of those divisions and departments of the city are my direct reports. So so we have a great team of not only directors, but cascading down into the organization. The folks that I've met, I believe we've got a great team of leaders here at the city down multiple levels, and the workforce itself. And I've made it my business in my first 3 or 4 months here to try to get out to as many city of Duluth locations as I can, and meet as many employees as I can, just to introduce myself and learn about what it is that they do.
Yep.
And when I have those conversations, what I get back really is, I hear the passion, that they bring into their jobs, their dedication, the pride that they take in their work, and that has impressed me. And I mean, every one of those meetings that I've left feeling so good about what we're doing here, whether it was park maintenance or meeting with employees at our downtown library. It's been amazing. And so I just think my experience with City of Duluth employees so far I've been very impressed. And I think not only do we have good leadership, but we've just got great, solid employees out there doing their best every single day.
Well, and I haven't had a chance to really say that, but I applaud you for doing that. Like, I respect that leadership of getting out. It's something that I made a priority in my first year as well, was to you can be at the top of an organization and seem removed from what our frontline staff are doing. And those are the folks that, one, interact with our residents the most on a daily basis, but also, two, do the things that people want the city to do. So kudos. I remember one day you came in a suit and had boots on. It's like you'd been out in the field somewhere already that morning, so it was very impressive. So, Well, as we, first of all, thanks again for being our first guest. I think hopefully it wasn't too painful.
No, it was great.
You never have to do it again, so that's the important part. But as we wrap up, so I have some questions for you about your interests in Duluth so far. And folks, these are going to be questions we're going to try and ask everybody as we sort of bring our conversations to a close. So it's sort of for the devotees out there of the actor's studio, kind of like that, but not quite as introspective maybe. So, okay, so on the food front, the question is best pizza, but I will open it up to like, what have you found to be a go-to restaurant?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've asked a lot of people, what their recommendation is surrounding pizza. I know I like Green Mill because there's one in St. Cloud, so I haven't been to the Duluth Green Mill yet.
Yep.
But I know I'll like it. But I've been to Sammy's twice, and it's a great little pizza shop.
The staple.
Yep. And so I've enjoyed Sammy's. I haven't had a chance to try Vita Pizza. And
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's other kind of more local, pizzerias, but eventually I'll get to them all.
So, it's over the bridge. I acknowledge that. But Shamrock's in Superior does a Thanksgiving pizza.
Really?
Which sounds gross, but it's actually delicious. I had to be convinced, and now it's an annual thing. So,
Okay.
put that one in your bucket. Okay, anyone who knows me knows I'm a donut guy. Mm-hmm. So, how about donuts or ice cream? What's your go-to?
If I had to choose between the two, it'd be a donut. So far, the only true donut that I've had is from Johnson's Bakery.
Yep, and you can just stop because that's the place.
And I will say that it was fantastic. It exceeded my expectations with what a donut should be. And
Okay.
it checked all the boxes with what it should be, and then there was something extra special about
You
it.
open the door, and that's like what small. The Hanson family has been doing it for forever. My go-to as well.
Yep.
So,
But my wife has fallen in love with the almond croissant at Duluth Bread.
also, Duluth's best bread is also very
Or
good.
Duluth's Best Bread,
Yeah.
excuse me. Yes.
So, just pro tip: don't ask for butter to go with your pecan roll, because you will get an explanation of why. Like, it doesn't need more butter. So, I'm a condiment guy. Everything needs more. But how about from when you were maybe when you visited us in the past, like a Duluth event, something. One of our big events throughout the year, or something you've attended in Duluth that really was enjoyable.
I think I've run Grandma's 6 times over the course of my adult life.
The full every time?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The first one I ran was in 1992,
Okay.
and then I did a couple more in the 90s. I think my last marathon here was in 2004, and I've done one marathon since 2004, but that was Twin Cities. But Grandma's Marathon, great memories.
There's one coming up
outstanding
this
event.
summer, I hear.
Yes, and there's I won't be in it. I'm gonna be with other staff in the mayor's office. We're gonna be handing out water. We're gonna do
A water station.
water station. I'm excited about that.
That's awesome.
I always thought I needed to do that, and I always ended up running.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. But I told my sister, she's out in Long Beach, California, that it's going to be the 50th anniversary next year. Mm-hmm. And so we've kind of challenged each other, to get back into long distance running. And I think we might try the half.
Okay.
We'll run it together.
All right.
We've got a year to prepare, so I'll have to hang up the bike for a few months. And
I might have to think about it too then. I plan on doing the 5K and then volunteering at the finish line, but you're right. It's a signature anniversary. Okay, so Hillview or Waterview?
So in terms of what am I looking at? I love looking at the water. I could look at the water all day long.
All right.
I mean, it's mesmerizing. I've been right now my temporary living situation. I do have a view of the lake, which I am enjoying.
Does not
I
get old.
enjoy and appreciate
Does not get old.
every single day, and I was excited to see some ships
Yep.
come in and out the last week or two.
I
So
think we have our first salty inbound, should be arriving within the next few days. So that'll be the first ship to transit the entire
Okay.
St. Lawrence Seaway through the locks across Lake Superior. That's the real opening of our port to the world. So it's always an exciting rite of the opening of the shipping season.
But I will say to continue to answer your question, I guess. As I've been driving around town, one of the great spots that I will definitely be returning to will be Chester Park and Chester Bowl. When I drove down in there for the first time this winter, it was amazing. I was blown away by it. It's a really cool thing to have right in the middle of the city.
And it really, it's a fantastic partnership where the city owns the land, but we have the Chester Hill Ski Association that is operating the lift in the winter and providing the ski lessons and scholarships for kids who can't afford rental to turn them on to winter sports, which we have some winter here in Duluth. So yeah, really Dave Schaefer and Sam and the whole team there just do a fantastic job. So
Yeah,
great.
really cool. The one that I haven't been to yet is it Hawks Ridge?
Yeah.
Hawks Ridge. I want to go there and I want to watch the birds,
All right.
the bird migration. I've heard
Okay.
about it.
Yeah.
I need to go see that, and it's probably going on as we speak here.
Well, and actually a couple of spots on Skyline Boulevard are popular spots for the bird spotters too. And I think many know that because and the birders out there will know better than me, but the birds are hesitant to go out over the lake, so they tend to congregate and then move along the shoreline, both up and down as they make their migration. So I know it's a thing.
That's a hobby I could see myself getting
All right.
involved in. Yep.
You and my
While I'm
dad.
here.
So, well, Matt, thank you so much for taking time to visit with us today. We're so grateful to have you as a part of the organization and the work you're doing already, and excited for the work that you and we will get to do together, and honored that you would accept the invitation to be our first guest on the
Thanks for inviting
the
me.
Duluth podcast, or whatever it is we're going to end up naming it. So, well, everyone, thanks for taking the time to join us today. I think we're going with the Duluth podcast, but again, stay tuned. And again, our goal is to do these about every month and have a variety of guests that speak to different things that are going on in our community and help both our Duluth residents, as well as visitors, just know more about city services, major activities, organizations, individuals, all those things that make Duluth just a wonderful place to call home. And I'm just going to end today with a huge thank you and shout out to our friends here at PAC TV. That's where we're filming today. A wonderful community resource that is not part of the city, but located in City Hall. And if you're interested in having your own community conversation, be sure and reach out to them, and they would love to support you. So with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day, no matter when you're seeing or watching this.